Making a video. Yes, I'm back still. Continuingly. Perpetually. Yeah. Who knows? Might as well do it while I'm still here, right? So Matt, now Art Matt, made kind of a funny short video. Yeah, I don't even know the point of it. You know, just one of these things like somebody jumping out of an airplane, like philosophy is, you know, this big, bold adventure. And, you know, it's certainly, you know, if you already know the conclusion, then you could argue that's true. Because, yeah, the conclusion's all bad news. But it really isn't all that complicated. You know, this argument that, you know, it's just that human beings start off so stupid, right? I mean, so ignorant. And they have to spend so much time figuring out how the game works, you know, mechanically. And they're sort of gotten there. I mean, you know, there's lots of bits that are way wrong. But I mean, the evolution thing anyway, is way right. And, you know, that we're just animals, and most of this functionality is just animal functionality. And so that's all just science, right? Just describing the circumstance. And then philosophy really only has to deal with what's significant, you know, what's important in this scientific truth. What's the important bits? There really isn't anything else that's philosophical. You know, it's just the ethical conversation. The conversation about what's valuable, what's, you know, what the moving parts are, in a sense, you know, what's a metaphor for it? It's hard to metaphor something like value, just because it's sort of unique. But it's just this idea of figuring out, like even in science, there would be an economy based on you having some premise about what you're measuring. You know, how tall is the tree? You can measure and compare, but first there has to be a reason to. And I guess that's the philosophy thing, is to find out if there's something that needs measuring, that needs modifying or changing or accounting, or there needs to be any accounting or accounting. And clearly I would argue that that's a circumstance that is created by the fact that, yeah, it's not a video game. It's not Pac-Man. It's not just nothing. It looks like nothing. It certainly looks like nothing. But we know from not even science, right? I mean, you don't need any grand understanding of physics or chemistry or any of that stuff to be able to figure out that I feel, therefore I am important. Yeah, therefore it's important what I feel. Because what I feel has qualia. It comes in good and bad configurations. And as soon as I establish that simple truth, there's philosophy now. Science isn't, I'd say it's a deductive logic, but again, if it wasn't for the fact that I am conscious, I couldn't scientifically understand why good and bad feelings would be important. But you have to kind of experience it to know it. It'd be very hard, I've said this a million times, but near impossible to explain to a non-conscious entity the nature of these feelings. The good news is I don't think there could be an entity that could do any real thinking unless it had some similar mechanism that created this motivational deprivation, you know, created this sense that I must do something, even though the world doesn't need doing. Yeah. And that I'm the one bringing the problem to be solved. That's what consciousness does. It brings problem to the table. So anyway, this is part, I guess, of the philosophical realization, that, yeah, it's a psychology game. It's not a smart game. It's a pretty dumb, stupid game in the sense that our desires are fundamentally made out of all of this compulsive, contrived necessity. And yeah, so the philosophy will, in the end, crash you against some pretty ugly facts regarding the nature of biological infestation. Especially the sentient variety. So, I guess I should run. So that's what I'll do. It's also windy. So I'll cut this here and maybe add some more, but philosophy is just applying the scientific method in a sense, reason and evidence and logic to the bits that you can't look at with a microscope. The bits you can't see without a sentient eye. Just the truth. You can't see it with an instrument. You can only see it through experiencing it. Anyway, something like it. So, till the next time, shortly, whichever comes first. Whoa, adding on, I guess. Skunk cabbage. Yeah, it really has grown. Really, it gets like an inch, 2 inches a day or whatever. Anyway, stuff happening and whatnot in the environment. Yeah, so philosophy. Is there a science to it? Is there any? Yeah, so I think the argument can be made that if you have a theory on the meaning of life, that it's going to have to be coherent to some sort of evidence. You can't just, you can just make up gods and you can make up mystical nonsense, but you sort of have to you do have to kind of make an argument in defense of, if you're going to put 3 bears and Hansel and Gretel and all that kind of stuff in your story, you're going to have to explain how that's coherent to something I can see somehow, without just making it up. So in that sense, it's a science because it's got to be an explanation of our circumstance that, yes, it stays consistent, with what we experience, beyond just, again, making up a matrix, making up something that can't be proven, that there's no evidence that can be compiled or collected. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't have an intuition into the secret, invisible reality, but how does anyone rational tell that from complete made-up nonsense? And that's where, there's really a fundamental problem. You can't just say because I say so, or I saw it. Well, people see things, don't mean it's there. So anyway, it's, it does kind of have to follow the rules, and it's not a liberty, it's kind of a responsibility, philosophy. If you're gonna say shit about the truth, you ought to be honest stuff. Don't be lying about the truth. Don't be humiliating it with your imagination. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the word. Objectifying it, for your purposes. Just kind of funny what the barberries do here. I mean, it's just, you just everywhere you look. Japanese barberry, Japanese barberry, just Japanese barberry. Every every foot of the forest. So that's all there is. There'll never be another natural tree. You know, never be another. You know, it's just kind of funny. It just completely owns the landscape. And you know, mostly because of the deer, because they ate everything else, and the last thing left are those. Now they eat them, but yeah, I don't think they enjoy it much. But it's all there is, so they eat it. So anyway, probably don't need an extra carmentary. Past the bridge, maybe I'll run a little more, and maybe I'll add a little bit more. But I don't know. I think we might have said all there is to say on the subject, anyway, the narrow subject. Might as well enjoy the last of the daffodils, you know, before they go all funky. Really quite lovely this year. I guess I could have moved that lovely stick, but just adds the natural ambience. Chair's not cooperating. Okay. Alright, there we go. That's better. Mostly. Yeah, it's a nice little view though. Nice. Okay, so that's good. We got the tree thingy happening, the house back there, and the setting sun and whatnot. Oh, very nice. So, Andy, yeah. So I guess I'll just do a different video here. I guess I forgot what I was talking about before, but yeah, it's all related somehow or other, right? So he was talking about. It sort of relates to the mystic and the brain conversation a bit. And so he has this obsession with these demon characters. He would call the demons this conscience thing, you know, in the cartoons. You know, we had the little devil and the little angel. He would turn the little angel into some sort of horrible force that's, you know, trying to keep you from your fun, you know, keep you from your bliss. And you're supposed to go with the little asshole who keeps just saying, you know, yeah, do what you want, fuck consequences. But anyway, it's just this whole yogi thing, this whole guru thing, this whole bullshit. So yeah, of course we have themes and trends and conceptual personalities, let's say, running inside of us. I have desires. I have, I don't know, narratives, stories tied to those desires in some ways. So you could almost call those personalities, you know, Chester the molester, kind of whatever, you know, kind of just not great personalities. And, you know, then I have this intelligent thing, you know, there is one of this, there's somewhere in here I'm wearing a suit. I don't, you know, small guy, but he's there. And you have different themes, different understandings of what your competence is, what your skills are, you know, what kind of athlete you are, what kind of superhero you are. You know, I never liked Aquaman much, but you know, yeah, I'm kind of, okay, I'll be Aquaman for a while. And so his accusation is that any of us who have, say, Spock-esque, Spock, ooh, Spock's a bad guy, or Yoda. If there's a Yoda inside of you, very bad, Yoda, very bad. You know, there is no try, whap, whap, whap. There is only do, or do not do. So you know, so this is really just it's just more of his ego and subjectivism flying into every conversation. He thinks his English cheese is trying to be good. He's trying to be good by going with his desire to eat cheese. Yeah, go with that. And go with it in some extravagant, bizarre way. Not common cheese. No, don't eat the common cheese. Have the imported English cheese. And he calls that good. Yeah, so he's all got his good engine on. I don't even understand it. Conceptually, it just doesn't make any sense. Because all your desires are your desires. and the rest of it is just a mission statement. There's no way you can say that there's only one way to want to do right, is to want to do it, and the only way you're going to want to do it is because you know it's right. There's just no positive way to know it's right, and there's no positive way to be, I don't even know how to put it, because you know his guru isn't going to change his psychology. It's not going to make him, if you're repulsed by the smell of decaying corpses or something, you know, some voice in your head isn't going to make it smell okay. There's certain obligations of life, let's say, that are for some people horribly tedious, and for other people, yeah, those are really easy. And it's kind of hard to change that psychology just by, snapping one's fingers. I'm all for people doing that, but again, there's just no sense to this idea that there's some sort of do the right thing because you're horny for it. It just doesn't really make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. You either need to do something or don't need to do something, and the rest of it is just going to be obligatory. I guess I'm saying, yeah, fine, if you can whistle while you work, who's against that? I don't think the evil nun would say that's a terrible thing. So, I guess I don't really understand how he gets away with it, because I'm just saying, could you give me a real world example of where the nun is wrong? I mean, that might help. Where Yoda was wrong, where Mr. Spock is wrong. I mean, if I have Mr. Spock in my head informing me that I'm being frivolous and wasteful, and yes, it's a negative thought, but is Mr. Spock wrong or is Mr. Spock right? I guess he keeps, just because his own psychology has created some sort of demons that just beat up on him. I mean, he never grew out of them when he was 10 years old. I mean, I certainly had them when I was young. I had a demonic voice in my head, actually, trying to kill me. It hated my guts, but he went away. I mean, 10 years old, he was gone, and I replaced him with something, more reasonable, who, had a conversation, would debate things with me and such. Wouldn't just say, jump down the staircase. Wasn't keep trying to throw me down. Staircases were, he just kept trying to throw me down staircases. He succeeded a couple of times, but I wasn't killed. But I did commit a couple of horrible acts under his demonic possession. Anyway, yeah, Pazuzu did control me for a little while. But like I said, this is all stuff we all grow out of, and then we acquire personality, and we acquire character, and it's just our individual character that starts being the preacher inside of us, is that we grow into understanding some things, and then there's part of us that understands our habits, our bad habits, and it just points them out. It just points out, well, you've been doing that for 20 years, and it hasn't gotten you anywhere, has it? So maybe it's time to quit plunging that hole, or something like that. I mean, it just throws a little bit of reason on top of our behavior, and he's calling that a draconian dark force from the depths of Satanist hell or something, and it's just such crap. I guess, like I said, if he was giving me some example of how his way of life, something he does in his life that is just so exceptional, and that he does it for some purely good reason, it's just a pure good, pure one of some kind, and that's just elevated his, I mean, it almost sounds like somebody looking to justify their life, so they'll, in secret, donate, whatever, $20 to, whatever, veterans or something. And, wow, I've fixed it all. I'm all clean now. I mean, it sounds sort of like that to me. No offense, but that's what it just sounds like. It just sounds like you're just pretending that you're doing this for the right reasons. And frankly, there's no fun things you do for the right reasons. There really isn't. There's no fun, for the right reasons. There are always distractions from the work that you should be doing, which is cleaning up the mess. We all should be knitting band-aids. I mean, I guess that's what fucking Gandhi should have said instead of, all this other crap they were knitting, knit band-aids. It would just symbolically get you to understand that there's all this wound, all this open wound in the world, and all this fucking cheese-eating bullshit isn't going to get the job done. So, that's just self-indulgent. I mean, to call that a good is absolutely silly. But anyway, yeah, there's just no, I just don't, our nature is selfish. There's no other way to put it. I mean, we're naturally selfish. And it's only through acquisition of a better personality, a few decent characters of thought trains of thought, connected ideas, that we can understand that there's a bigger game to be playing than my little pawn game. I mean, my little individual game is not the game. And if I'm going to be rational, I have to understand that, and I have to understand the implications of my cheese eating. And there's sometimes when you can make you can justify it because you need it. Your psychology has gotten tired and fatigued and weak, and you need to give it some boost. So you give it enough boost to get it going another day. But to argue that these are dark forces, that these are things negative to civilization, I think is just idiotic. Yeah, that's what I think they are, yeah. I think self-indulgent, reckless, greedy, selfish people they're the menace. And anything that will temper that is all good. Anyway, yeah, so it just seems like one of his typical, there's a word for that, it's not bigotry, but it's just his subjective rationalization. His superheroes are real superheroes, and everybody else's are fake ones. I mean, his guru knows the shit, and their guru doesn't. But he doesn't have any evidence of that. He has nothing at all to base it on. Like I said, he certainly hasn't shown to me he hasn't shown me any benefits of any reason I should believe he's done something in the world for which I should be eternally grateful, because he has a little good engine running inside of him that's just pumping out the good behavior. He's created so many decent people. I think he just creates menaces, right? Just gives a bunch of child molesters license to do what they feel, eat the cheese. So anyway, cat. Meow. Santino. I'm gonna pet you. You see, I'm gonna pet you.
Oh, you're in a little cranky mood. You just got combed. He's all clean, debugged and such.
Whiskers all short there, buddy. What's your hair? Yeah, your whiskers are all short. Yes, they are. All short, all gray too. Anyway, enough of that. Indulgent, self-indulgent nonsense. Oh, maybe that's one of those good things. Yeah, comfort the cat. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, not much of that. Yeah, not much. Nothing else yet. No real flowers yet. Amarella's here. Broke my good one. Had a really good one. It's almost ready to flower and such. Yeah, some crap fell off the shelf and landed right on my other one. Broke it. But anyway, deers, look at what they did to these poor roses. Did a tiny, tiny stump of a rose there, and it was a stump of a rose. And they just totally killed them. Anyway, fuckers. Till next time. Oh, these have orange centers. Yeah, I think that's why I planted these. I said, boy, these are nice. But they've never flourished over here. It kind of looks like a good spot for daffodils, but yeah, they just haven't done much. I'm going to get my car running. I'll get to that too. So many things to do. Millions and millions.